I had no plans to do a TED Talk. It was something that was on my, my bucket list of one day. One day I'll write a book, one day I'll do a TED Talk, one day after I gain a lot more knowledge. Because I'm not an expert at anything except asking questions about myself. And who wants to hear a TED Talk about that?
Evidently over 1 million people.
Well, so what ended up happening was I created this show over 3 years ago. And this year, in 2017, my company decided to go all in and to do it ourselves. We weren't going to wait for a network or a studio to fund it. We just believed that it was time. And I was asking all these questions, and I was getting such great feedback from my social media. And it just seemed like it was time to start asking these conversations publicly about what does it mean to be a man today? How can men empower women? How can men start to talk? And what ended up happening was we went and made the show. And out of the blue, Ted called me, emailed me. Yeah. They don't just call anymore.
I was about to ask, like, is it actually like
hello,
a
Ted?
dude named
No.
Ted? Yeah, like
no.
This is Ted.
I actually, so I had a friend. I had a friend named Mina who works at TED, and evidently she brought up my name in passing, and there was an interest, and they randomly emailed me, and I had probably a month and a half to figure it out. And the challenge was that the TED Talk was basically 2 weeks after my wife was due with our second baby, who we then found out was a son. So there was this feeling of birthing both the show, it was like the birth of this TED Talk and the birth of my son. And it was interesting that I was having a son because all I was thinking about was masculinity and how I can be a better father and how I can kind of take everything I'm learning and help my son not have to suffer in the same ways that I have, in the same way that my dad did with me. We always want to be better than our dads, and then we were. So it was all happening at the same time. I was shooting Jane the Virgin, and it was just, at one point I had written a 7,000-word speech, which they said, that's crazy, TED Talks are 12 minutes long, this is 70. And because I'd never written anything like this before. So it was a really interesting process. I almost quit multiple times. I was absolutely terrified. The biggest thing for me was that I'm not a scholar. I'm not an expert. I didn't believe that people would have any interest in hearing me talk for 18 minutes about anything. So I had to get through a lot of my own vulnerability, like my own insecurities and vulnerabilities. I mean, you're up on a stage, you memorize a talk, and millions of people could watch it. The last thing you want to be is the guy that screwed that up or ruined things for all male feminists, or and yeah, so it was a terrifying experience. But I'll tell you, I prayed a lot, and the response for the most part, I think, has been kind. And I hope that it did something, or it continues to do something. And